Welcome to the deep dive. You, our listeners, have pointed us towards some really interesting stuff lately, and today is definitely one of those.
Yeah, looking forward to this one.
So many of you wanted us to tackle the Sith warrior story breakdown. And, well, that's exactly what we're going to do.
Right.
Our mission, like always, is to sort of pull out the core ideas from the source material, really get a handle on the main themes, and figure out what makes this whole story tick, what makes it so compelling.
Mm-hmm.
Think of this as your shortcut, maybe, to understanding a pretty complex and honestly a really dark, engaging story.
Mostly dark, maybe.
Yeah, good way to put it. It's packed with, manipulation, some genuinely shocking betrayals, and this just relentless climb to power. Okay, let's get into it.
So the first thing that really jumps out, I think, is this setting. The source material makes it clear. The Sith Empire is, well, it's brutal. It's this rigid hierarchy where you step on others to get ahead.
Yeah, no kidding. And the story just throws you right in, doesn't it? You start as an acolyte on Korriban.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is basically this incredibly dangerous training ground. Survival isn't guaranteed. It's all about being strong and cunning.
That intensity right at the beginning, it really sets the stage for everything else.
It absolutely does. It tells you what this world is about.
And right away, you meet Darth Baras.
Ah, Baras. Yes.
He comes across as the mentor, guiding the warrior. And the source mentions that initial trust the warrior puts in him.
Mm-hmm. But you get hints pretty quickly, don't you, that something's off?
Yeah, the source uses the phrase secret ambitions. It suggests this mentorship is, well, a mask.
It's a front. He's using the warrior. It's all about his political gain, his own power trip.
Which is, when you think about it, kind of a twisted take on Sith philosophy itself.
How so?
Well, the code starts, peace is a lie, there's only passion. The warrior's got the passion, the drive.
Right, they're dedicated.
But Baras isn't really nurturing that for their mastery. He's just exploiting it.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's twisting that passion for his own ends. And you see the power dynamics immediately with other characters, too, like Overseer Trummel, this early authority figure.
And Vet.
And Vet, yeah. The Twi'lek slave companion. It just hammers home the inequality right from the get-go.
So trust versus manipulation, that's the core tension right at the start.
Definitely. And it only gets more complex.
Because then the story broadens out in Act 2. We leave Korriban.
Yeah, you start moving around the galaxy, places like Balmorra, Nar Shaddaa, Republic Worlds, neutral zones. The scale just gets bigger.
And this is where the cracks in the relationship with Baras really start showing.
Big time, because now Baras is making this huge claim.
He's calling himself the voice of the Emperor.
Right, and he's sending the warrior on these critical missions, supposedly for the Emperor.
But it raises questions, doesn't it, within the Sith structure? Is he legit?
And, spoiler alert,
yeah,
he's not. The source material says the warrior starts uncovering the lies, the exploitation, through these very missions.
So that initial trust just erodes. Doubt creeps in, disillusionment.
Exactly. It's that turning point. Blind loyalty starts to feel, well, stupid. Suspicion takes over.
And this is also where we meet some really important characters, like Jaisa Wilsam.
Jaisa. The Jedi Padawan. Such a fascinating character arc potential there.
Right. She can be corrupted or maybe redeemed. It depends on the warrior's influence.
And then there's Quinn.
Quinn, yeah, the Imperial officer. The source hints at his future significance, which, if you know the story...
Oh, boy.
Let's just say significant is an understatement. But these characters, they really push the warrior to make choices, don't they?
They absolutely do. They highlight the moral gray areas, even on the dark side, which brings up that central dilemma the source mentions.
Yeah.
When do you serve and when do you betray? In the Sith context, that's everything.
It is. And Jace's fate is almost like a mirror, isn't it?
How do you mean? Well, the source suggests whether she falls completely or holds on to something. It reflects the warrior's own path. Are they becoming this brutal tyrant? Or is it something else, like a twisted sense of dark honor, maybe?
That's a really interesting way to put it. Her fate shows the consequences of the warrior's power.
Tangible consequences, yeah. Your choices impact others, even when you're a Sith Lord.
Okay, so then things really escalate in Act 3.
The end game?
The action moves to, like, the centers of power, Imperial strongholds, Republic worlds, leading eventually right to the Dark Council.
Big leagues, the Sith ruling body.
And Baras. He just goes for it, makes this incredibly bold public declaration.
He declares himself the Emperor's voice. In front of everyone.
It's audacious. And suddenly, the warrior, who's been his muscle this whole time,
is branded a traitor. Thrown under the bus in spectacular fashion.
Talk about betrayal.
It's the ultimate backstab. But the warrior doesn't just roll over.
No way, they fight back.
Hmm.
The goal becomes exposing Barras as a total fraud to the council.
And this is where that theme of self-empowerment really takes center stage. The warrior isn't just a tool anymore.
Right, they're seizing their own power, their own destiny in this incredibly dangerous political game.
And you see allies emerge. Sort of.
Rome.
Like Darth Sauron on the council.
Yeah, he sees through Barras. It shows the internal politics, the factions, even among the Sith Lords.
Always plotting, always maneuvering.
And the climax itself. The source analyzes it perfectly, I think. It's pure Sith philosophy. Meaning the warrior wins not because they're good or right. We're way past that.
Yeah, just a bit.
They win through sheer power. By proving they are stronger, more dominant than Barras, full stop.
Victory through strength, the core tenet.
And that victory leads to their new title, doesn't it?
It does. They become the Emperor's Wrath.
Which sounds pretty ominous. What does that actually mean?
It essentially means they become the Emperor's personal enforcer.
Yeah.
His direct agent of destruction, bypassing the council's politics sometimes, ultimate power in a way, but still in service.
Okay, so stepping back from the plot, what are the big underlying messages here? The core takeaways?
Well, that theme of power versus freedom is huge, I think. The whole story asks, is real power found in serving a master, even the emperor? Or is it about carving out your own autonomy?
And loyalty versus betrayal is constantly tested.
Constantly. The relationships with companions really drive this home. Vet, Jaisa, and Quinn.
Ah, yes, Quinn's betrayal. The source specifically calls that out.
As it should. It's infamous. It's this brutal lesson about trust in the Empire. Or rather, the complete lack of it. You always have to be vigilant.
Always watching your back.
Pretty much. And then there's the transformation of the warrior themselves.
Yeah, the identity aspect. Going from this, like, manipulated apprentice
to the Emperor's Wrath. It's a massive evolution. It's self-actualization, Sith style.
From being used to being the one who uses, who influences, dominance achieved.
Which brings us nicely to those specific character dynamics. They're crucial.
Like Vet.
Yeah, Vet. She's often seen as, like, the moral compass, or maybe the potential for one. How the warrior treats her with cruelty or, dare I say, kindness, sometimes reveals a lot about their nature.
Are they just pure monster, or is there something else under the surface?
Exactly. Your choices with her matter.
And then Quinn's betrayal again. It's just such a defining moment.
It really is. It forces that confrontation with trust, or the illusion of it, and sparks that desire for vengeance. A really raw, powerful moment in the story.
A harsh lesson learned the hard way.
Definitely. And Jaisa, we touched on her, but her fate really acts as that reflection of the warrior's ideology.
Right. Do you corrupt her fully, drag her down into the darkness, or is there some other path that shows the warrior's influence, their power to shape others?
Maybe even hints at their own internal conflicts, however buried.
And finally, Barras himself. He's not just a mustache-twirling villain.
No, he's more complex. He's the ultimate example of Sith ambition gone. Well, maybe not wrong by Sith standards, but ultimately self-defeating against the warrior.
He's almost a dark mentor figure, teaching the most important lesson.
Which is?
You have to surpass your master, or you become obsolete, a stepping stone.
Ouch, brutal, but probably true in that world. Constant striving, or you fall.
So wrapping it up, the source concludes this is really a story of relentless evolution.
Yeah, it embodies the Sith code perfectly, doesn't it? Passion leads to strength.
Strength to power.
Power to victory, which brings freedom and mastery. That whole cycle.
And it balances that brutal, pragmatic side of the Sith with this really intense personal ambition.
Which is probably why it resonates. The
Yeah.
source mentions it's a highly praised storyline.
You see people talking about it all the time, the emotional beats, the betrayals.
Especially that betrayal.
Especially Quinn, yeah. Still hurts for some players, I hear. But also the satisfaction, you know, of finally taking down someone like Barras.
Oh, definitely. Overcoming that manipulation feels earned.
So our deep dive mission was to get the essence of the Sith warrior narrative from the breakdown you sent us.
And I think we've hit the key points.
Yeah.
The themes of power, betrayal, transformation, all within that unforgiving Sith Empire context.
That journey from manipulated pawn to, well, a self-determined force of nature, really. That seems to be the core of it.
Couldn't agree more.
All right, so here's something to leave you with, a final thought to chew on. How does that relentless chase for power, even when you think it's about achieving your own freedom, end up impacting your relationships, maybe even your own sense of self or morality?
That's a good one. Or maybe think about why these stories about morally gray characters, these anti-heroes sometimes, why do they grab us so much? What's the appeal of exploring those darker motivations?
Lots to think about. We definitely encourage you to mull over what parts of this discussion struck a chord with you. And hey, if you haven't experienced it, maybe check out the source material itself.
Yeah, see the story unfold for yourself.